Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 9 of Bobble Pod. Can't believe we're already on episode 9, and we're really flying through season 3, and that's because we've got a lot of good content coming through. We've got a lot of great guest speakers, and today I am joined by Rashpal Sagoo from Box Media. Hi, Rashpal. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you? Pleasure to be here in the Bobble Pod.
Thanks for joining us. And for those listening or watching on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell notification to get the premiere videos when we launch out the vodcast versions of these podcast episodes. And if you're listening to us on any podcast streaming website, please follow and subscribe to the channel so that you can see all the weekly episodes that come out with more interesting, valuable, important news around the digital marketing world. And as always, connect with me on LinkedIn at Manni Singh, or use the hashtag Mr. Bobble. I love that hashtag. We're going to definitely try and get that trending at some point in the next 12 months. As I say, ask hashtag Mr. Bobble any question you want. And when we do our news roundups at the end of the month, your questions or question could feature on that podcast as we did in episode 8, the episode before this. So if you want to feature and get yourself featured on a podcast with some specific good marketing questions, then reach out to us on social media. So this episode is all about the future outlook on video. And Rashpal is joining us for the next 2 episodes that we deliver, episodes 9 and 10. But in this one, we're talking about the future of video. But before that, Rashpal, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, and once again, thanks for the welcome to the podcast. I'm Rashpal Sagoo. I am Head of Strategy at Box Media. At Box Media, we help and support businesses communicate better using the medium of video, humanize their brand, amplify their voice, and reach their target audience, whether that's external or internal, and help them through that whole process. Everything strategy-led moves into video, content creation, and then obviously the marketing of that, getting it out into the marketplace.
How long have you been working in the video field right now?
That's a great question. We set the business up in 2000, so 22 years this year. Wow.
Nearly as old as me. I'm not going to give my age away. Definitely not, but nearly as old as me. 22 years, that's a long time.
It's been a good stretch. Shot over 10,000 films over that period. Met lots of people, done some great work that we're really proud of, and learned a few things on the way as well.
If anyone from the Academy at Oscars watching this, over 10,000 films, that's all I'm saying. Definitely worthy for an Oscar nomination. So that's a lot of experience, 22 years. So you've seen the video landscape change a lot.
Absolutely.
So my first question comes down to is, how has that video landscape changed in the last just 10 years to get 22?
It's changed radically, and it revolves around how people consume video. Not so much how the technology of producing video, but people, how they consume it. And especially in the business world. I mean, I'm talking specifically B2B. You know, with technology improving, that means everybody's using a mobile phone. You know, we didn't have 3G back in the day. We've got 3G, then 4G, now 5G. That means internet speeds are faster. That means we can consume more content. That means video is more accessible. 10 years ago, we didn't have that. It wasn't accessible. It was a hard conversation. It was DVDs. It was television. And that was it. So the internet was in its infancy. I know, YouTube was out and was in its place even before 10 years ago, back in early 2000, 2005-ish, it came out. However, the early adopters leveraged that space. But for the lion's share of businesses, they're adopting it now.
It's interesting to talk about YouTube because I was reading a stat about YouTube the other day. We got some stats from Global Web Index. And it was just showing the type of video content that's being consumed for YouTube right now. And actually 56% of it, 54, 56, don't quote me on that, but I know it was 54, 56% of content that's consumed on video is informative, educational. So you might think it's like all the content around like what Mr. Beast does. And obviously that is the next category, is entertainment. That comes after that, and I think that was like 51 or 50% of what people consume. So it's a high percentage, but it just shows that YouTube is more than just a platform for, going out there and watching people walk into corridors and walls, or, funny cat videos, or, little mice, skiing on water, etc. There's loads of type of amazing content on YouTube, but most people in the business world will use YouTube for how to do certain things. I mean, I'm no expert on Excel, and I know I'd say I'm not a beginner on Excel, but I'm not going to say I'm advanced with Excel. I'd say I'm probably intermediate, but there's still some elements on Excel in terms of formulas and elements that I want to do that I then say, well, how do I do this? And I type it into YouTube, and there's a video on it on how to follow this process, how to create this formula, how to write that formula and create that element. And that video might not be viewed millions and millions of times, but the quality of those views compared to anything else out there is better. But it just kind of shows the type of content that's out there. And, you know, it's a lot of challenges out there in terms of from a business, what do you do? The example I'll give for us, we do these podcasts and we create it as a video. So it's on YouTube. So you're on YouTube. I'm going to wave to you. Hi. Thank you for watching. But the reason we do it so is that you can actually see the human element and what actually happens in a podcast element. Some people like watching something as they're listening to it. So, which is why Joe Rogan does quite well. If you look at Stephen Bartlett and his YouTube and his videos. If you look at TikTok, Stephen Bartlett is just creating loads of little snippets of people he's got featured on his podcast. His podcast is on the mainstream platforms, but he creates a video element of it because it's great visual content. And what we do with the video element is we snip it and we use it and we push it across LinkedIn, social media to say, look, our next episode's out. Here's what you can expect from this episode. So we'll take some snippet from what we've talked about now and we'll use that to promote it when the time comes. But there's a lot of challenges facing businesses in terms of how they use videos. So the next question I really want to ask you was, what are the biggest challenges facing video agencies like you right now that you're seeing within the industry?
So the biggest challenge is, so if I take a step back, I'm a strong believer of you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And for most businesses, they don't know what to do with video. And with a handful of agencies, and I would say more than 50% of them, don't know what to do with video either. So they see video as, let's make a video, let's make an ad, let's plug it into a campaign, and that's it, that's video done. And I would say, let's take a step back. Video, its absolute best is all about storytelling. You touched on the fact that, Stephen Bartlett is using video to amplify his kind of digital footprint on TikTok and other channels using video. I mean, let's just think about that. If we go to the science of it, visually, you can see him, and from the audio point of view, you can hear him. It's touching two senses. It's creating a deeper connection with you without you even thinking about that, as opposed to just reading text in Google or in a book or in any other kind of medium. So from that point of view, you're touching two senses. And then if you can wrap a story into your narrative so people can actually resonate with you, they understand, actually, some analogies there, there's some parallels there that I can connect with, then suddenly that medium, that channel, the whole use of video becomes so much more powerful. So all of that said, relating that back to businesses is like, well, how can this medium, video, how can a business actually use that to amplify what they're doing? So the first question I would ask a business is, where's the gap? Where's the problem? We've got to start with the problem. Is the problem in awareness? Is it in lead gen? Is it in conversion with regards to, converting them into actual customers? Is sales and marketing not the problem? Is it that you're a larger business and you've got a recruitment challenge? Is it that we've got a big team of people, they're in separate offices around the country, but we have a retention problem, so we're not recruiting the right people? And the whole journey of taking someone from recruitment to induction to onboarding to training, ongoing engagement, that's where, from sales and marketing, right through to recruitment and all the other intricacies, is where video can play a huge role to make sure you get the best people for the job.
That's a lot to unpack there. I mean, we do that to some degree. We recently celebrated our 5th birthday as Bobble. 5 years. It was actually on the 1st of June. But I didn't want to take away from the Queen's celebrations, and I thought let her have her limelight, and we'll celebrate later on in the month. So we celebrated on the 24th of June, and did a big party. But before, in the morning, we had video in, and we had videos of our team discussing why they liked working at Bobble Digital, what advice to give to someone who's looking for a job, particularly looking to join Bobble Digital. So that whole element, it was quite key. So we use video as an opportunity to really amplify how we improve that recruitment processes. They're the challenges that businesses kind of face in terms of why and how they should be using video. And I don't know what they're doing, but from an agency perspective, what are the challenges that you face?
So I suppose just dovetailing off the back of the last question as well, of the challenges we have it's about educating the market on how to use video. With regards to the question of why video, I think there's lots of information out there. We see video on every channel. You can Google HubSpot, and HubSpot has hundreds of blogs of why video. So that's not really where the challenge is. The challenge is, well, I'm a engineering company in Yorkshire. I'm a manufacturing company in Newcastle. I'm a recruitment agency in the middle of Leeds. How can I use video in my business to achieve my next business goals? So it's about having a framework of the right kind of content that business needs and creating the right kind of videos. So when I say the right kind of videos, let's just say we need more awareness. Let's just say it's a sales and marketing challenge. We need more awareness. Well, the first question is, who's your audience? Who's your target market? We've got to make content that actually resonates with your target audience. What's their demographic? What kind of person are they? And based on that, let's make content around that. That could be thought leadership. It could be a teaser. It could be an advert. And that kind of questioning helps to construct what kind of content we should be creating. In line with that, I'm a strong believer of humanizing a brand. So I know there's lots of people that will lean towards motion graphics and animations and things like that. And once again, if you take a step backwards, nothing beats a face-to-face like we are today. I can see your eyeballs, 100%. And vice versa. There's an energy in the room that we can sense from each other. Whereas as soon as you go digital, it's really hard to get that same personality, that same energy through a screen or through the camera lens. So from that point of view, if you then go back to motion graphics, to get personality into motion graphics is really hard work. You've got to be at Walt Disney level.
Or John Lewis.
Yeah. Or John Lewis. Yeah. And most businesses aren't going to invest or spend that kind of budget on their campaigns, unless you're John Lewis. So from that point of view, the second best way to get personable and get your personality on screen is get yourself on camera, humanize the brand. Even if it's not yourself, it's the actors, it's people from the team, and understand who your customer is, understand what your core message, and use people, real people, to convey that message across to your customer base. And then that way, they can cut through the noise, amplify your voice, and actually get some traction with the campaigns they deliver.
No, I agree. I mean, I talk about hashtag Mr. Bobble, but that is something we're trying to create. And it's an idea. It might work, it might not work at the end of the day. And, you know, you've got to try. When we started these podcasts, there were 4 hosts. Unfortunately, one of the hosts passed away after the second episode recording, and we miss Keith, sorely. And he's remembered, obviously, on our website. But, the other 3 of us took it forward, and then we learned from that and realized we were doing 1-hour episodes and changed it to 15, 20-minute episodes instead, and focused on doing series where we talked about different topics and the what, why, how, and then like a general, advice element. So split into like a format. And this time we've taken it forward because everyone gets busy. They're focused on their personal brands. I'm focused on my personal brands. And it became almost like a platform to build from. So now we're using Bobble Pod as a platform for me. And if you've ever watched the episodes where we talked about our background as hosts, I talk about how I am Bobble. That is my nickname. That's why the agency is called Bobble Digital. And can
I just interject?
Yeah.
Bobble is your Judah, yeah?
Yes. So for those that don't understand what Judah is, Bobble, but it's a Punjabi version of saying that. And I'm digressing here, but quickly
But it's an important side story.
It's an important side story because when I was younger, I never used to wear a turban. Like if you're on video, Rashpal's turban, absolutely beautiful, can I just say? I mean,
thank you.
I haven't got that many levels as Rashpal, but honestly, that's how it is. And one of my other mates was called Manni, and I'm called Manni, and he was called Big Manni. I didn't like to be called Little Manni, but generally everyone just said my Bobble was cute, respect the Bobble. It was kind of quite funny.